In this video, the middle-aged nerds discuss spoilers from books they read decades ago. Do you really need a spoiler alert? Do you really?
Hi, I'm Glenn the Geeky Hippie. Welcome back to Non-Terrestrial Half-Life.
And I'm Bill, also known as Matt Stagger. Today we have joining us Ryan, BrotherDan, the brothers from the Leaf Cast. Welcome.
Hey
Thank you
guys.
for being here.
Hey, yeah, thanks for having us. We couldn't be more pleased.
We figured it made sense to have you guys on as we discuss Kurt Vonnegut, especially the ones we picked. It's going to be interesting for the next 3 episodes, so what'd you guys think of this book?
Oh, are you kidding me? This book is fantastic. Vonnegut, to me, is the greatest American writer. He makes writing. He's like a gymnast, where it says like where you watch a gymnast and you're like, I can do a cartwheel. I can do a somersault. That looks so easy. He makes writing seem fluid and effortless and simple, and it is anything but. And I love him. I adore his writing, and this is a great example. Bokanon is quintessential Kurt Vonnegut, and defines like what you are going to get when you read a Vonnegut novel.
He has this amazing ability to write like without fluff and filler. There's a lot going on, but he cuts to the chafe. Especially, I mean, amazingly enough, how many chapters is this? Like 120?
127.
Right. So yeah, I can't even remember reading a book with that many chapters. They could be like a page long, what have you. But yeah, like he writes wisdom like in these like tiny phrases, and if you just are skimming through it, you're not going to get just how profound it is.
You can definitely say that when he writes, he makes a series. It's all a series of individual statements that are making a point every single sentence, and they happen to run together, you know. And it's definitely one of the better American writers, and I definitely claim him for science fiction.
I love the fact that his prose isn't overly flowery or anything, but it has this pace, this ability to sort of pop, and the way it flows is just, it's fluid, it's quick, and it's easy, and he makes it look easy. I couldn't write like that, I can tell you that. So
no one writes like this.
Yeah, no. I can't think of anybody with a similar style, honestly.
So, and I was trying to, as I was going through this, I was thinking like, could this book like stand up if it was written in this day and age? Like right now, if all the references were modern and this was the style, would this
language was changed?
Would this fly in this? I don't know. I guess I'm ignorant of of what's really going on in modern fiction, but I feel like only he could pull this off. Like maybe that's what I'm thinking. But
I've never seen somebody pull off such a grim and dark story with so much humor. And I think that's what really made it for me, was the humor in this novel. It's very bleak and nihilist and dark, and I love that kind of humor. And I've forgotten how well he writes it. So
yeah, I mean, this is like quintessential 20th century, mid 20th century American literature. That is this postmodernist kind of slant, right? And so I'm not sure if we could have this book written at this time and place. I don't think this time and place really allows for it. I think just this time after World War II and actually leading up to Vietnam was a very specific time for writers to kind of explore this, what just happened. And Vonnegut does that really well. And I'm not sure unless he was in the Gulf War, but then again, the Gulf War was different. And so I don't know if we could have Vonnegut now. We had to have him then.
Yeah, we don't want this cynicism in our entertainment now. We don't look for this like right. And I think like things are more spelled out for the modern audience. I don't think it would stand up at all. And then you're right, it's as bleak as shit, but I don't think the bleakness is the issue. I think it's the pointed cynicism. he is.
Yeah.
This is
There's some
a
nihilism in there
scathing.
too.
Yeah, this is a scathing takedown of American imperialism, um,
Organized
Oh man.
religion.
Yeah.
organized religion,
Just human
like
falling.
humanity, like science without humanity, like a
Very
reverence to
strange.
science, but also understanding like if you don't pair it with humanity, and then and it's just so goddamn poetic.
I think he would kill it this day and age, though, because he writes
Yeah.
perfectly for a Twitter-based 128 characters. He can fit. He can
He would
kill
be an
it in two
amazing tweeter.
sentences.
That's right, Dan. He would probably be
Yeah.
one of the amazing tweeters.
But I
Be a
would.
prolific.
I mean, would he be a guy like Bill Maher though, or something?
Um,
Someone who's
I,
witty but polarizing in a weird way.
I
oh
think
yeah.
so. If you look at the character, what's his name? H. Low Crosby.
Oh
He
Mhm.
is such a reflection of certain people of a political alignment right now that it
yeah.
comes off as being written right now. You're like, oh
Mhm.
my God, this guy is nuts. And he's so fervent that honestly, it fits so perfect. I could totally see him being either a political
I,
satirist on TV or definitely on the internet.
I have to say though that with your point about people of a certain mindset that he represents, I've been seeing from in my experience the last couple of months, I've been seeing a lot of that in all of the fiction that I've been reading. That you always have a group who's just that idiotic as we who as that guy is very similar to they're always a major pain pain in the side of the main characters. But I just want to mention that's been happening for me a lot, so it's not entirely that unique, but that is something he does.
Correct.
So
There is that just that obscene nature to some of the
it's
characters that just get grotesque in their features, become more pig-like
it's
or
very trope like.
Horse
film-like.
faced,
Yeah.
and yeah, horse face is
Mhm.
mentioned
Yeah.
quite a bit for the
Mhm.
sister, the overbearing sister.
So
Mhm.
when was it that you guys first discovered you love books? And what books led to that? And do you remember how old you were? Start
Books.
with whoever wants to go first.
We grew up in a language rich environment. Like books were just everywhere. My mom and dad were just avid readers of fiction, so we were picking up books that were highly inappropriate to us at very early young ages. I remember reading Stephen King and Dinar Kuntz in like third, fourth, fifth grade,
Oh wow.
and yeah, and then like and we had this insane vocabulary. like we read at a very high level, um
Mhm. Mhm.
and yeah,
We
like
there was a thing when we were a kid in our elementary school called the MS Readathon, in which you would earn money for multiple sclerosis, and you would go around to like your neighbors and family and ask them, hey, would you sponsor me? How much would you give me a nickel for every book you read, or something like that? Give me a quarter
mhm,
for a book. And I would tear through books. This I was like I was it was like I was training for the Olympics. And I'm like, all right, MS Readathon, baby. Now's my time.
mhm,
And I would get like through 80 books or something in
Oh
a
wow.
month. I was just like tearing through, making sure like my teacher signed it. Hey, I just read this one. She's like, okay, boom, 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 authorized,
mhm,
authenticated, notarized. There you go. You are entitled to your 5 cent for that book. Because we were really good readers. I wasn't great at math, but
mhm,
I was a good reader, and I could read quickly. I was good at spelling. It was just a skill that I had that I recognized right off the bat. Um,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, and I think I never kind of lost it until I got an
Sounds
iPhone.
that sounds an awful lot like my childhood. I grew up with all of my parents' books from when they were in high school and college together, and a lot of science fiction and fantasy in that grouping. Um, Especially some like Asimov and Clark and Bradbury and stuff like that. No Heinlein because they disapproved of Robert Heinlein for some reason. I had to
Oh,
get him from
we
the.
had
I had
books,
to
but
get
they
him from
weren't lit.
library.
We had books, but we didn't have literature. We
No,
Yeah.
no.
had a lot of like pirate romance books, soap opera
Harlequin
books.
Harlequin romance. It was Harlequin romance, Dinar Kuntz, Stephen King.
Yeah, a
Okay.
lot of Fabio covers.
I was reading Dune in
Yeah,
fifth grade. It was when it was and stuff like Dune. I read the Silmarillion by the fifth grade,
that's
which
funny.
Ugh, I
yeah,
still never
that's
read that thing. I can't.
I've
I can't get through it,
made
man.
it
It's
through
just
like three
ugh.
times. I've tried it a bunch of times, only gotten through 3 times.
So I believe it was fifth grade, we were tasked with writing to a living author. So I decided to write to Dinar Kuntz. So I wrote him a letter,
Nice.
said I loved Watchers and the Golden Retriever, Einstein.
Yeah,
And
Einstein, yeah.
yeah, and so
Einstein was awesome.
I got back from him just the craziest thing. It was a big old envelope, mailed to me to my name. Probably the first thing I ever got in the mail besides like a $5 bill from our grandparents or something like. Uh, yeah, I open this up and it's got everything. It's a handwritten letter to me, a picture of him and a golden retriever like signed saying Einstein says wolf, a
Nice.
whole
Nice.
uh, basically like a creative short story he wrote about how he killed his pen name and became Dean Kuntz. He used to write under this other name. I used to know it. So this whole thing, I was just like lifelong like fan after that.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Just
Yeah, I
reading
understand
everything
that.
I can get my hands on. And if you know Dean Kuntz, that's some weirdo shit. He goes weirdo stuff. He's
I
Yeah,
think I've read one
he
or
goes.
two of his books.
he did answer an email of mine about Odd Thomas. I had a question. I think it was the third book. I had a question about Odd Thomas, and I actually wrote him an email, and he did respond, and he answered my question. So
That's
That's crazy.
I've had
yeah,
email interactions with George R. R. Martin twice, and twice with Elizabeth Moon. And that's it online. But I did write when I was a teenager. I wrote a letter to Piers Anthony, and I got a response. It's in a box somewhere. I'm sure I
ooh,
kept it. I don't think I
you
threw
know
it
how I
away.
feel about that because Xanth is what got me reading as a kid.
Yeah.
Was
Um,
Xanth? That's what got me actually reading.
do you gentlemen, any of you remember when you first read Cat's Cradle and how old you were and what
Nope.
led you to it? Yeah, I didn't think Ryan would remember that
I think it
after
was in
what you told
so.
us.
I think I
I
was junior college.
remember what happened. How I consumed Vonnegut was how I consumed a couple other authors like Philip K. Dick and whatnot. I was in a tornado worth of just reading, just uh,
Oh,
just obnoxious enough, like reading all the time, right? And I'd go to the library and just get like 10 books and then return them next week and then go get 10 more books. And so that's how I consumed Vonnegut was I just kind of I gotta assume that the first book I read was Slaughterhouse-Five. And I was like, oh, I'm down with this guy. Let me get as much as I can. So I got like so when I'm looking at the books in this that are on the cover here, I've read like 13 of them. But I honestly couldn't tell you anything about them.
same
I
here.
I read them for the enjoyment of just the enjoyment of it, and I did not even retain things. As soon as I put one down, I picked the next one up and started, and there was no divider, there was no context. I was just reading these books, and certain things like Tralfamadore come up in various books. Certain
Right.
I don't know if
Kilgore Trout.
Bokanon does, but there are certain themes that kind of recur. Same with Philip K. Dick. There's certain like terms, and it's in the same world, kind of. So they kind of blend together to me. So I can't really say what I had a specific reaction to, except for it was turkey dinner, and I had a blindfold on, and I was just eating I was like Garfield with lasagna. I was just eating so fast without even tasting it. I was just consuming, you know.
For
Were you the
me,
kind to read at the dinner table, or try to read at the dinner table?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we read. Yeah, read
Oh
in the
yeah,
bathroom. A lot like if I did not have a book in the bathroom, I was just grabbing any shampoo bottle and reading the fine print. I
Yep.
knew a lot of
Yeah.
chemical compounds at that point in my life.
I still have a
Obsessive
book
need to
nook in my
read.
bathroom now.
I
We call
mean,
it the
if I'm
book
going to
nook.
sit at the breakfast
Is it
table,
the
I better have a
Bible?
box of cereal in front of me to read. If I can't have my book at the
Mm-hmm.
table,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
yeah, I get that.
For me, I was in 8th grade and I wrote a paper on why I shouldn't have to read Moby Dick. And it was very sarcastic on how stupid I thought Moby Dick was and how the prose was horrible. And my teacher actually recommended I go check out Cat's Cradle. He's like, that was pretty funny, but I think you're going to like this better.
Oh,
Nice.
That's how I found Kurt Vonnegut. So this was the first Kurt Vonnegut book I
Oh
ever read.
wow, wow.
But my teacher's like, yeah, you'll like it because he's a smarmy little shit like you.
See,
I'm like,
I
okay, that
picked
works.
I picked it up because this book right behind me, the same cover was sitting in my, on the shelf at home for my whole life. I'm like, well, might as well pick it up and read it sometime. I had to have been early to mid teens, and it wasn't until a couple years later that I did my binge of all the rest of his stuff, at least what I could get my hands on. But like you, I couldn't tell you anything about any of the other books. The only thing I remembered about this was Ice Nine.
Yeah,
I didn't even
yeah.
remember how Cat's Cradle played into the story at all. Why
Because
it had the title, I
yeah.
couldn't remember that.
They're
it
so
doesn't,
allocated.
and that's the point.
Hmm.
Is that Cat's Cradle isn't really there's no cat and there's no cradle.
Yeah,
It's literally just people doing stupid shit.
yeah,
That's all it is. And that's what he's pointing at. There's no
But
cat,
it,
there's no cradle.
but it's also the most human moment of the inventor, right? That
Yeah,
was,
Felix.
yeah, that was his most human moment, was doing the cat's cradle and
Yeah, with his
scaring
son.
the living shit out of Frank.
yeah.
But it was great how that came back around and then continued to come back around.
Mhm.
I would have loved it to somehow come out in the end somehow, like if Buchanan somehow the last sentence was "There's no cat, there's no cradle," something that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Newt did say it at one point.
Yeah, a
He said
couple
it a couple
times,
times, yeah.
twice.
Yeah, he's like,
There are a
yeah,
Well, you
couple
there's no
say
times.
cat, there's no
you said
cradle. What's the
See
you
point?
the
said
cradle,
well,
see the cat.
yeah. Do you say yeah? He says that twice, and he also when he was talking about the painting, he says no cat, no damn cat, no damn cradle.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm
Mm-hmm.
like seriously considering getting tattooed.
Yeah, I love that.
Right, like that's just like layers, so many layers, and that's what he gives us,
Yeah,
just like this unlikable character, completely unlikable. The narrator is just
Oh, he's
like,
awful.
he's
yeah,
terrible.
he's so like the worst person to talk to too. Like he'll just repeat
I
what you
think he's
say.
also the
Like,
worst person to spend time in an oubliette with too, because
Oh, agreed.
there was something nasty went on there in the oubliette. There's a one sentence that says, I don't even remember how the sentence was phrased, but something nasty happened the first night down there, and I'm like, yeah, they just
Yeah,
decided to
he
skip
was
over that.
repulsive and he was repulsed or something.
Yeah,
Yes, yeah,
it doesn't go into
uh,
detail, which I'm thankful for. I don't need that.
yeah.
So
I don't want to know more. All I know is, yeah, he's a nasty piece of work.
which is
um
interesting to choose that. Like that's not always how he writes. Like this is
No,
what, from my memory of Vonnegut, this may be the darkest of all of his books.
I,
more
I
so than Slaughterhouse.
I
I
mean,
think
probably.
the whole
Yeah, I
point
mean, God
was
bless you. Dr. Rosewater's pretty dark too, I think.
It's been a
you know,
while for me to
he
Or
made the
remember.
Dr.
character so
Gomorrah.
unlikable because the ending is so bleak that we'd be okay with it. Honestly, we're like, if these are the last people on Earth, I'm kind of okay with it just ending,
Mhm.
Yeah,
which is kind of
Mm,
how I felt. I mean,
yeah,
frankly, the only person who's got any sense is Newt. He seems the most self-aware, I think, out of anybody. And if you pay attention, he makes little comments here and there that are always ignored and downplayed by every other character, but they're actually pretty
Mhm.
wise.
Are
And
you
I
saying
love that
he's
fact.
Tyrion Lannister of this book?
Oh, he is 100%.
Yeah.
Yep. Tyrion
Little,
Lannister was based
little
off Newt. I'm
Tyrion.
calling it.
To me, the cat's cradle itself is defined in the before we even get to the table of contents, we have the two little quotes, forward or whatnot. One says, "Nothing in this book is true." The other reads, "Live by the FOMA that makes you brave and kind and healthy and happy." The Books of Pokemon, number 5. And to me, that's the cat's cradle. Nothing in this
Yeah.
book is true. It's religion. Nothing here is true.
Mhm.
Live by the
Right.
bullshit that makes you brave and kind and healthy and happy. Live by your own. Make sure your FOMA helps
Mhm.
encourage you. And Pokemon himself was always about, yeah, everything I'm saying is false. I'll give
Mhm.
you a creation story and then tell you it's wrong, but I'll give you one.
Well, I
You know
think
what? The Bakodan religion is basically what you read on the side of a Dr. Brommer's soap bottle.
yeah, it kind of is. It kind of
What's wrong with
is.
that?
I
But
think the last
also,
sentence of
Nothing.
the book kind of nails
but
that home. I
on
mean,
a more serious level, though, I think Buchanan appears to be like, and I don't know when he wrote this book, and like chronologically in his oeuvre, but it does seem to like encapsulate his philosophy and all the different kind of um, philosophies that he's brought out in his different books. Like this seems to be like his breaking down like his whole gamut. Like
Yeah.
you read his novels, like nothing. These are not like, you know, novels where you're like, okay, like structurally and narratively, like what am I'm looking for something that is cohesive and makes sense, you know, where like canonically the world's got to be like logically great. No, it's like his character just goes here, goes here, goes here, meets this person, happens to meet this person again, no explanation. He's just saying it's fate, and we just go with it, and then it gets more and more and more fantastical. There's nothing really grounded. It's just an allegory for this philosophy, and it seems I like to, as I was rereading, I was thinking like, man, this is him kind of like flexing like the whole of his career.
I think it is later in his career. I could be
um,
wrong.
That was
Not
no,
super late.
surprising.
actually,
Not super late, but
it's Cat's Cradle is his first novel published in 1963.
was it his
Then
His
he
first
knew
first?
book.
ahead of time. No, just kidding.
Uh,
So everything
second book is
else is
God
just
Bless You.
extrapolation. Everything
That's
else
I
is
think
amazing.
just
so.
extrapolation.
It's
No,
amazing.
I would say that Bokanon is probably was the driving force around
Kind of
this
set his
entire thing.
philosophy for his universe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, it starts off with the main protagonist wanting to write a book about the day the world ended and get like, what were you doing at the exact moment the bomb dropped?
Mm-hmm.
Which is a pretty negative premise to start with.
And you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is. But it's like my parents' generation is where were you when Kennedy was assassinated? You
Mm-hmm.
know, our generation is where were you when the towers went down? And I was
Yeah.
asleep. I woke up, it was over.
I was getting evicted out of my apartment.
Oof, ouch. You know,
That's why I remember it.
every generation's gonna have some sort of benchmark, I think, like that. You know, as morbid as it is, you know, when there's something so massively zeitgeist altering, you know, just the way the whole world is altering, you know, is dropping the first bombs,
Well,
you
I
know.
think it goes into his themes of humanity reaching beyond technology to destroy themselves. So it
Yeah.
makes sense starting with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because what is Ice Nine? But absolutely
The
humanity
bomb.
reaching beyond technology to destroy themselves. It's
Mm-hmm.
100% what it is.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I mean, and it gets free to the world because its creator dies while just idly playing with it carelessly in the kitchen. He just dies in it. And I mean, the two aren't related, but
No. Everybody else dies because of it, except for him.
but suddenly, yeah.
Yeah.
And just this shows that this type of power cannot stay isolated. It will. You cannot just keep it to yourself. Despite your best efforts, it is going to be dispelled somehow, and a global termination will happen accidentally as a result.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
it starts off with a bomb, and then it ends with Ice Nine. What are these? Are bookends, guys? You know.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the entire sequence where the Ice Nine is taking over, and it changes the atmosphere immediately with the tornadoes that just
Yeah.
start
Yeah.
ripping everywhere that look like worms hanging from the sky. That description is just so visceral. I love that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I have had a hard time getting it out of my head since I listened to it yesterday and today. It's
Like this the Jonah or John, which is great that he goes by both names.
Yeah, and he only says it once. We
Yeah.
get his
And
name one time.
Call me Jonah.
Yeah,
Jonah.
and
it's his call me Ishmael moment.
Freaking Moby Dick.
Here we
are again.
A lot of this reminded me of how Kafka writes, where you're
I haven't
not
read him.
connected to the protagonist, right? Like,
Yeah,
go on.
you
Yeah.
don't really feel bad for anything that happens to him because he's sort of unlikable.
Yeah. He's
They're all kind of unlikable. They're all pretty much unlikable, except for Newton. Newton's probably the most likable.
mm-hmm. But devoid of passions. Like he's
Yeah,
just moving along through events.
he's
I
apathetic.
Did,
Yeah.
100%.
I did like that he had some sort of ability to see himself and criticize himself when he got some power, which was cool to see. It didn't seem like in character with him, but yeah, he was able to be like, oh, and here I am feeling the power, and here I am acting like all people do when they get power. I like that, but for the most part, he was not like, he has no like hero's arc. He's not driven by, and then he just wants to write this one book. And even when he's trying to talk to someone to get information, he's like, hey, look, this book's probably not even going to be written. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Like, he doesn't even care about the book halfway through the book. And then, though, be careful what you ask for, though. He ends up writing the book about the day the world ends because he was there and he's interviewing the principal characters, which are all the people alive with him still, which is funny. Layers. It's an onion.
I love the fact that his deepest layer is how many cigarettes he smoked and how many drinks he had. That's kind of the deepest thing about him we get.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about, oh, I've had this many marriages, this many cigarettes, and this many drinks. That's basically all we get of him
3,000 quarts of beer.
Other than, just kind of douchey.
Mm-hmm.
What did Mona mean to you guys? My beautiful Mona, my sweet Mona, my capable Mona, or whatever he was.
I think to the narrator, she was nothing more than an object. To the narrator at least. That's all she was an object desire. And then when she was there for his to have, he just that's when he turned real asshole. In my opinion, that's when he took the real heel turn.
I think she's a true symbol of bogonism. Honestly, she's a true symbol, and she is 100% a product of that because nothing phases her, and everything sort of rolls off based on that religion. So, in a way, I think it shows that how damaging it can be because she has zero autonomy. She's just handed around. Oh, you're going to marry whoever the next president is. Doesn't matter who it is, as long just the next president. And she's like, okay.
Yeah.
He's like, I love you. She's like, okay, I love you.
But they're only really just playing footsie. Who's getting hurt with that? So,
but it's horny footsie.
Yeah, I'm going to postulate that John, aka Jonah, is an allegory for America. He is
Yeah.
he is America. He respond like he literally we did the bombing and he is devoid of compassion, just trying to capitalize off of the event by writing about it and trying to publish a book. He doesn't care about the people who died. And then he goes out and he just exhibits in all these ways these just typical like what he's trying to criticize about the American imperialist philosophy and the American hubris. But then, and so interestingly enough, he gets paired up with these diplomats who are from America, but they are absolutely worldly. They've worked, and he breaks it down here. All those details are to try and contrast the narrator with what he could be, which is more of the world. And so he's blindly going into this place, the San Lorenzo, and these diplomats are like, "Oh yeah, you're right. We're pot of gold at the end of the rainbow."
Right.
Like they know that they're not going into something good. They have this experience. It's great. I was thinking the whole time that Jonah is America. All the people around him represent different aspects of that, and then in the end, he's warning the world that American, you know, actions are going to be the downfall of all of humanity. This isn't a human um, uh, uh, tale. This is a screed against America specifically and
Yeah.
pointedly, and all focus is on America, and everything else is there to contrast that American bullshit.
I think that really comes out when he does the wreath ceremony for the 100 fallen sons.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what
It's a great
Minton
speech.
says that is just a gut wrenching moment when he talks about sending your kids off to die.
Oh
It's
Yeah.
yeah,
just,
that was my
yeah,
favorite. Yeah.
I love that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it sang to me as it came off the page. So I
If you
definitely love that moment.
Brother Dan has oftentimes heard me just screed about just our missiles are just killing children, and
Yeah, they
I
are.
all I want is like my government to see that as a moral no go, and we work around everything so that we're not just wantonly killing children, which has been what every president I've lived under has maintained. So we've I it's so prescient that like he writes this, and like I don't remember who said it, but like it is still so relevant because we're still killing children. We should like the idea that we're going to have a ceremony just to honor the children who die in war. It hit me so
Yeah,
hard.
it was the new ambassador, Orlick Minton, I think his name is.
Yeah.
Him and his wife Claire Minton, if I'm not mistaken.
I
Okay.
think so.
Yeah, he's the one who does the speech and places the wreath. But I love it because it goes. I can't remember exactly what story it was, but there was a story where I was reading. It was a military thing, and this guy was talking to an Afghanistan man, and they were trying to come to an agreement on something, and the Afghan man told him, "Well, we can reach an agreement when our children no longer fear the skies." And
Mm-hmm.
he's talking about
Oh,
drones,
yeah.
100%,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what brought this kind of back to me when he started talking about it.
Wow.
So I got that children fear in the sky stuck in my head,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah.
just
I mean, yeah,
horrific.
that sound. I remember watching news of the like one of the like Palestinian Israeli uprisings that happened just maybe 10 years ago, and like all you're hearing is the buzzing of like this population being like overlorded by like mechanical like robot killing machines which is just the future now. It's
Yeah.
just, yeah. And like, and I've, you know, said that I've often thought like, yeah, like that sound just strikes terror. And you're a kid playing soccer with your friends in some dirt field, just trying to get through like before it gets too hot, and all of a sudden you're running for your
Oh,
life. Like,
yeah.
what does that do to like swaths of populations, like as they grow up? Like, who are we, you know, going to deal with in 20,
Not
40
healthy.
years?
Not healthy at
Definitely
all.
going to traumatize them and in some cases radicalize them. So,
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
continue to like monetize them, right? Like, yeah, we're just
yeah,
monetizing their undoing.
And it's
And this,
all there, and it's all happening because the military companies, the military contractors need to make missiles, they need to make planes, they need to make drones so that they can keep
mm,
making money for the owners and the shareholders.
mm. And so like in
And
the book, you know, oh, go on,
I
Dan.
did find it. It's on chapter 114, which is called "When I Felt the Bullet Enter My Heart." Here, let me just read just an excerpt real fast. Quote:
sure.
"My soul insists that I'm not a man, but a child. I do not say that children at war do not die like men, if they have to die, to their everlasting honor and our everlasting shame. They do die like men, thus making possible the manly jubilations of patriotic holidays. But they are murdered children all the same. And I propose to you that if we are to pay our sincere respects to the 100 lost children of San Lorenzo, that we might best spend the day despising what killed them, which is to say, the stupidity and viciousness of all mankind. Pro Patria is the wreath that was on the thing.
For the country.
yeah.
Bearing the words "Pro Patria," what do they mean anyway? They mean for one's country, and he threw away another line. Any country at all. This wreath I bring as a gift from the people of one country to the people of another, never mind which countries. Think of people and the children murdered in war, and any country at all. Think of peace, think of brotherly love, think of plenty. Think of what a paradise this world would be if men were kind and wise. As stupid and vicious as men are, this is a lovely day, said Ambassador Horlick Minton. I, in my own heart, and as a representative of the peace-loving people of the United States of America, pity
That's all right.
low hobo Monterey's Kuna for being dead on this fine day. And he sailed the wreath off the parapet.
Yeah. I mean, it's one moment of sanity and clarity
Yeah.
in the end. I mean,
Yeah.
because the story is about the end.
And
Totally
that is
dominates
the
with it.
last thing we hear before the entire castle comes pretty much crashing down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. The
The
planes are right
planes then
after. So,
come to do their silly exhibition. One of them loses it, crashes right into the mountain, takes out the parapet, and
Triggers
again, this is
everything.
kind of that postmodernistic cataclysmic event that happens in the third act, that suddenly shit is just going crazy all around, that just is just, you know, everything
Mm.
that was going on
Yeah.
before suddenly doesn't really matter because this apocalypse has occurred. And right off the bat, we hear that Bokonon has predicted that the end of the world will happen when that golden boat floats
Goes
again or
back
something.
again.
and it
And
does.
Papa
Yeah.
said, and now I destroy the world as he killed himself. Now, granted, Bokonon, that's what they all say when they commit suicide, but this
This
time
time
it
it was real.
was real. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's on
And
Frank for giving him the Ice Nine. I mean,
yeah. But
there's a character I really want to smack.
yeah, oh my goodness,
I
Frank.
don't feel that way often, but Frank I just want to grab him and shake him.
I know, but we know what he went through.
I know, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I'm like, come on, man.
See, I
You
don't
can't let that
hate any of
define
these
you.
characters. I don't hate
I don't
any of
hate him,
them.
but he
No, I
frustrates me.
can't say I
He
hate him.
frustrates me.
I
I can't say
like
I hate him.
the main
He
character.
frustrates.
If it wasn't
Oh,
for the way he treats Mona, I would really like him. I think the narrator. For
Yeah.
Frank, I think I don't dislike him. I don't love him, but I don't hate him. You know, I
I can't
like
say I
He
hate
a
any
lot.
frustrates
of
me.
them.
I don't hate him. He frustrates
Yeah.
me. I want to shake.
I dislike that businessman, the one who left the hotel
Oh
because
yeah.
Crosby.
the owner was rude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really disliked him, but
Mhm.
I can't say I hated him. It just I could tolerate him at the dinner table, like in a situation, and at a restaurant if I had to, but I wouldn't hang out with him outside of that. You know, I
Mhm.
wouldn't want to be around him.
I just thought it was funny how much he reflects certain political leanings now. Like I said,
Yeah,
it lines up.
Oh,
It's just
oh
so
yeah.
funny.
and he's made to look like a fool, so it can
No, even
tells you what
yeah.
Kurt Vonnegut thought about certain ideologies.
He predicted participation trophies.
Yeah, he did.
Uh,
Oh my
I
God,
mean,
you're
Yeah,
and
right. I didn't think of that. You're 100% right.
this whole
That's awesome.
this whole island was run more or less by Donald Trump and Don Jr. They run the taxi, ran the hotel. Trump just ran the benevolency of ranting his name to the hospital, but his son was just milking up all that money from the
Mhm.
association.
Yeah, pretty
yeah,
much.
Yeah, so the moment Jonah gets power, he's told by Frank Honegger, right, to disavow Buchanan,
Uh
right?
huh.
And he goes,
Yeah.
okay.
yeah,
Beautiful,
He's
beautiful.
like, okay, yeah, all right,
He's
see
like,
ya.
yeah, sure, no problem.
Yeah,
sure,
yeah. Just there's nothing un, like holding this narrator up, and in a lot of ways I think I would find that frustrating, but it's not, because any relationship to him would just be taking away from the focus, which is the actual allegory, like the other
Right.
stuff. Like, we're not here to like have emotional connections to humans. We're here to think about American imperial domination, and right, like that's what we're here to talk about. So it's fascinating that he writes this way, because yeah, like Dan just like, yeah, I'm fine with everyone. I don't hate them, don't love them. Maybe you like them more than hate them, but like I think that's all by design. He could write characters that we are madly in love with and would hate for them to suffer. I'm sure he has that ability. He chose not to, right?
Uh-huh.
Why?
yeah.
Because why would we like love America? He's trying to make us right. Because if he is America, then like he is to be like criticized and despised.
So you bring that up a few times, Ryan, and to me, the narrator is surrounded by America. I see
That
the
too.
Crosbys as being the industrial, conservative Rust Belt kind of mentality, and I see that the ambassadors as being kind of the fallen house of what could have been American royalty, or the closest thing that we have which is the appointing of certain responsibilities in government and whatnot. And that apparently there was a fall in grace, and these people are. This
Right.
is
Brought about by his
like
own
the
wife.
consolation prize.
Yeah. His own wife accidentally kind of created his downfall, which was kind of
Mm-hmm.
funny. I
That
love
And
the
so
dark
to
humor of
me,
that.
these people are aspects of America. So maybe that is his whole uh well, what's the Kazan
I have a
Caress.
whole,
Kanas
Caress.
yeah,
Karas
Karas,
Karas Karas.
Caress.
Karas,
Yeah, yeah,
Maybe
Durpas,
but
yeah.
Galafoon,
but he's the one who took power
What's
without like regard and without thought. Like he's the one who just like, oh yeah, I get to have sex with this hot 18-year-old. Fine,
yeah,
I'll run the world. Like that's what I think elevates him above the all the other characters. I think they're all aspects of like this like what he's attacking. But I think like once he went and made all the decisions, he chose to have the planes come, like all of it, all, like he just was
He's the
heedlessly,
reason everything happened
yeah, like
in so many
he's in
ways.
power for no reason, and it's the most capricious thing, which is like a great look at what's happening. Great criticism.
I shouldn't say he's not irresponsible alone for it. He shares a lot of responsibility with the three kids.
Well, Ryan, to your point, this is the Kafka-esque kind of point to leadership and power, where it's arbitrary and just given to someone. It's kind of, I'll run things from behind. Don't worry about it. I'll maintain these things. But we'll just prop you up and say,
Yep.
this guy's dead. We'll tell him that he's not dead. And then we'll have this magnificent fire and burn his ass away.
Yeah. So the Honeckers in the military industrial complex. Jonah is just like the president prop, right? The puppet. I said it.
Oh,
All right.
drink.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
Right, that shouldn't be a slur anymore.
I'm sorry. No, I know it's so ingrained. So sorry. So sorry. Speaking of slurs, what is it?
There were a few.
I don't even. I guess some of these. I don't even want to say because I don't want to get you demonetized. But there are like,
I mean,
some doozies.
They were using the term Mongolian,
Mongolian,
which is like to
Mongoloid,
me
yeah.
is a like a nationality. Isn't it like Kuala Bantur?
Mongolian, yes. Mongolian is a nationality.
I mean, there's Mongolian beef. There's this isn't a slur to me, but I think it was meant as a slur or some kind of weird thing that I wasn't picking up on.
Yeah.
At one point, they used to call people with Down syndrome Mongoloids.
No, yeah. So it's like, so it's all about.
Yeah, there's a couple in there that are would not go today. Let's just
no way. Not even
what they referred to Newton as.
He called it a school for grotesque children.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
like
that's what places like that would be called sometimes, or it's very similar, or at least.
Yeah, but I also think that Vonnegut. So if we were gonna like, and I was thinking about this because I was imagining these things are gonna come up. Like, are we contextualizing this in that, it's time and place, and Vonnegut is just that's the kind of collective consciousness of the time, or is Vonnegut specifically making his character say these things to embody certain negative aspects of that collective consciousness? Is he above it and making points about it? Because again, like, he's a sparse writer. He's sparse AF. So if you think about like why he's choosing it, is it?
I think every sentence he writes has a purpose, including those particular slurs.
Well, and I would
partially
say that,
due to the time period, but I also think it's on purpose.
Yeah, I would mostly blame the time period, and here's why. So when we're describing Newt, I think that the writer and the narrator's attitude towards Newt is mostly pretty positive. He feels that he is being diminished by others around him, by someone who puts their hand on him. He's like, oh wow, Newt is taking this pretty well, and this is a somewhat humiliating condition for him, and he handles it. I don't know how I would handle it. These are all kind of progressive, I think, thoughts, even if they weren't gracefully put. He's not being diminishing. It's not being there for humor's sake. It's actually humanizing this person with a condition, No,
but like they consistently call him Little Newt. And when they were cleaning up Ice Nine, Little Newt went underneath the things because he's just Little Newt. Like,
he's Little Newt.
Yeah, and then that's Jonah
calling Ryan. Never mind.
Yeah.
That's Jonah calling him Little Newt. Right. So it's
everybody called him Little Newt. It wasn't just Jonah. His family
everybody was pretty patronizing towards Newt. If you
Yeah.
know, you'll notice, like I said,
Yeah.
he's very overlooked and sort of an afterthought for just about every character around him. But
Even his name.
if you pay attention, he'll say stuff that just hit like truth bombs.
Mhm.
He has little ones here and there that just pop.
Oh, keeping up with the little, huh, Matt? Keeping up with the
Yeah.
little.
Well, and I mean,
Wow. Really?
and the
I'm not
first
the one
time
who
we do
used
meet
puppet
him,
as a derogatory. That was you.
I really did.
the first time we do meet
Yeah.
him is when Crosby's wife is telling a fellow Hoosier to call her mom, or to call him yeah, call me mom. She's unsure whether she should say that to Newt, and the narrator's like, nonsense, go for it. And then later they both were like, thanks mom, thanks mom.
Hmm. I loved that scene when he meets that lady. That dialogue is just so well written. And when
Yeah.
he finally calls her mom, he says some sort of time machine, like clock was set, and she spent right, like some sort of like thing was set, and then she had to rewind the clock for the next time she meets a Hoosier. Just the way he turned that phrase is really cool. I wish I had it in front of me.
Yeah, it's basically like she has a program. And once she hits that certain point, the program ends and she
Mhm.
becomes lifeless,
Yeah.
waiting for the next Hoosier to set off the program again.
So cool.
It very much comes off that way.
Do you think
We can
this
all
could be
agree on that.
adapted to screen?
Uh,
Yes, with changes.
What sorts of changes?
The language, for one.
Yeah.
There are some things that don't fly.
It would still be a period. It would definitely be a period piece, though. It would have to be early mid '60s, because it's so reliant on the bomb.
I think they actually did at one point.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did try earlier. I don't think it would fly now if you tried to adapt it to this day and age again, because it is a child of its time.
I
Yeah.
I do know Leonardo DiCaprio's production company had bought the rights to it a couple of years ago. They were
Okay.
hmm.
supposedly making it and then they canceled it.
Hmm. I mean,
I mean, it's go ahead.
it's so structurally odd. Like it's kind of like plotting and weird, and he's just like meeting different people, and it's like it's almost like a pastiche style of writing, and then all of a sudden, boom, action, right? And I mean, like if I can't even see how that would be
Uh,
like the
it,
opposite of what movies are these days.
if you can adapt something epistolary like Bram Stoker's Dracula to screen, which that's really just a bunch of letters back and forth. If you can make that into a movie, I'm sure somebody creative could figure out how to do this one.
Mhm.
So there were
It just
portions that were in a television movie of Between Time and Timbuktu. Portions of
huh,
Cat's Cradle were adapted for the
Mm.
television movie Between Time and Timbuktu in 1972.
never heard of that. It's before
Me
my
either. I'm gonna
time.
have to look for it.
And that's just 10 years after it was written,
Yeah,
or at least published.
yeah,
But it
probably.
is 60 years old now, 61 years old. So
Oh,
it's like doing Gatsby without it being in the 20s. It can be done, but you have to do the original some solid first before you can branch out, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would have to be set in that time era to make sense. Definitely
Yeah.
have to overhaul some of the language. I think you'd have to make the narrator at least somewhat a little bit more likable.
yeah, definitely, because we don't like unlikable narrators. Maybe not as
Well,
arrogant.
I mean, I'll argue that some of our favorite characters are the least likable.
I
Big.
like this character.
Okay.
I'll just
Well,
say it. He's morally ambiguous, but he spends time with that who he calls a whore, and he
So,
feels morally kind of cruddy about it, and he's like, shit.
so you really felt his POV.
Yeah, I was into him. To me he was human, and I liked how he tried to get out of conversations he didn't want to be in by being graceful about it. Yeah, and to me, I don't know. I kind of liked him.
Okay.
See, that's one of the reasons I didn't care for him is because he didn't seem to have any substance. Whoever he
Yeah.
was talking to, he would just agree with them and move on.
Hmm.
Beyond that, we don't get his thoughts,
Yeah.
his actual thoughts or anything. So
I
there's nothing
know.
for me to connect to.
Yeah,
I
No,
can't
the
it's
time,
connect to
great.
yeah.
anything.
The world's ended. There's only 4 people left. He's going around talking to these people, and he's just a platitude machine.
He talks
Yeah,
about he talks about
it's
just
crazy.
cliches. Yeah,
Well,
but it's great. I mean,
yeah.
he's a cliche
I
monster.
don't like that.
He's
I
like, well,
would.
you can't skin a cat.
You're the last. He's the last person you want to be like alive in a frozen wasteland of an Earth.
I'm like, and you're wondering why his wife
Probably.
basically picks it up and puts it in her mouth and kills herself. Now you know why. She got tired of hearing, well, the sun will come up tomorrow. Be like, that's it. I'm done. I am so done.
Bokunon, I mean, his whole philosophy beginning on, it says here, quote, seeking the storm that would drive him ashore on what was unmistakably his destiny. This was his kind of concept. It was to kind of do nothing as well. I mean, to me, the narrator is Bokunon 2.0.
What are you talking about? No, once he got power, the first thing he did, he tells his
Until he
wife.
got power.
No, yeah,
He could, yeah.
but then
Also,
he became like everything proved to be like bullshit because he instantly was like, okay, first order, we need fucking rockets flying over. We need a ceremony to put me in power. My wife, you can't see anybody else. I'm gonna control you like a dominating
Yeah.
man. Like he instantly became the thing he might have hated
How long
before.
did it take for Bokunon to have people pressing the soles of their feet together
did,
and
did
moaning
Vonnegut
around?
start this whole foot obsession thing? I'm wondering.
Well,
He
I mean,
start
Maybe,
it
foot
yeah.
is
fetish stuff?
it's a little on the head on the
Yeah.
nail when it's like this.
Yeah.
They're mingling souls.
Soles,
Yeah,
literally the
he's
soles of
like,
their
look,
feet.
Souls.
I have a 53 body count.
I think one of my
And this
wallpapers
woman
was
Wow.
taking her
actually
shoes
feet.
off made me moan.
Yeah.
53.
One of the cat's cradle covers is just feet.
Oh.
I
Wow.
love that.
That's great.
That makes me
I
laugh.
did want to point out there was I found that Robert Jordan Wheel of Time connection with the Bokunon theory of dynamic tension, in which it was quote. It was the belief of Bokunon that good societies could be built only by pitting good against evil and by keeping the tension between the two high at all times. And as Castle's book read, the Calypso said, Papa Monzano, he's so very bad, but without bad Papa, I would be so sad, because without Papa Ball badness, tell me if you would, how could wicked old Pokemon ever look good?
I think the big difference between Bokuno and the narrator is Bokuno knows he's full of crap and he's not
You could
afraid
say
to
that.
admit it.
Mm-hmm.
He from the beginning, he's like, yeah, this is all BS. Here, I'm going to hand it to you. I'm going to tell you this is BS, and you're still going to make a thing out of it. So let's do this. And he hands it to him. He's a lot more honest with himself and what he's doing than the narrator.
Now, but that seemed like the biggest contradiction of the whole religion. If unless you're going to take it literally that it's all a lie and you can't believe anything, for him to be like, yeah, the only way to do this right is to create this type of society, that seems to be so opposite of all the other teachings, which were not conflict based and were just like absurdist based. And all of a sudden this pops up, and I remember going, what is this? Like,
yeah, no, I guess they said it gave them meaning for it to be clandestine and illegal. It wasn't fun or worth it if it wasn't.
Yeah,
if
he got himself
sanctioned.
Banished on purpose, so that people would feel like it's a secret and we shouldn't be doing it. That's why we're doing it. Because that was his whole point.
Otherwise, they wouldn't be using it and doing it, I don't think. Because, I mean, it is. I hesitate to call it even a religion, because religions actually believe in something, and right off the bat, they tell you don't believe any of this, so there's nothing to believe in. Did anybody really believing in anything? So is it a
Hey,
religion?
Glenn, there is no
Yeah,
cat. There is no cradle.
exactly.
Exactly.
The joy of doing books and talking about them like this is now we'll never forget this book. We'll remember
I
Cat's
know.
Cradle because we just spent an hour and a half talking about it and
Yeah,
breaking it down and having fun with it.
Mhm.
Instead of just like this private absorption of letters into our brain, we're actually hearing other things, we're seeing things, we're saying things. The whole brain is engaged, and we won't forget now. It's there
right.
forever, as far as I'm concerned.
So
Plus, there's been other points brought up that I didn't even consider before. So now I got more to
yeah,
think about as I re-listen to it.
Well, get used
Mm.
to it,
yep.
buddy. We're going to be on 2 more books, and the points will be flying.
That's
Bring
gonna
it.
be fun.
I am here for it. And with
Thank
that,
you,
I
Ryan.
want to thank you so much for being here, everybody.
Thank you,
Hey,
Ryan and Dan. Thank you
Really,
both.
Ryan, brother
Well,
Dan.
I love you both very, very, very
Love you
much.
back, man. Love you
Yeah,
both.
you
You
know we
guys are
love
some
you.
of the best people we know. Always
all right, the
supporting you
bet you
guys.
guys have the best hair in the business. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise.
Yes, straight up.
Thank you guys at home for watching. Please come back in 3 weeks as we continue our discussion with the puppets, talking about Slaughterhouse 5. And don't forget to be awesome.
See ya.